Hello guys, how are you holding up? My goodness gracious, what crazy weather are we having? Ah, alright, I'm gonna do something that I've never done before, okay? When I started Anarchy Land 6 years, I have never recommended an anime, ever. But I'm going to. It's called Banana Fish. And this was written by, let's see if I can say this, Akumi Yoshida. I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I apologize. Um, this is a very well written anime. It was and put to animation in the early 2000s. It started out as a comic strip that Miss Yoshida started doing back in 1984 in Japan. Here's the prefix. The plot line is the relationship between Ash Lynx, his character, and Eiji Okumura. These two boys are 2 years apart. You cannot find two characters that is completely on the opposite ends of family dynamics. I mean, Eiji grew up with loving parents, a little sister that adored him. Ash was just the opposite. And his older brother, according to the anime now, his elder brother served in Iraq. And after he went, Ash went through some serious crap. I mean, awful. But his brother Giffen came across information about banana fish, a mind-altering drug that was being used on soldiers to see what it would do. When Giffen was going to expose this, it got used on him. He flipped out, started shooting everything up, and someone had to shoot him to make him stop. Sound familiar? 1950s LSD stuff? Yeah, it goes on. Now, at the age of 7, Ash was sexually assaulted by a pedophile that had gotten into the community where he lived in Cape Cod outside Boston. When he came home, his father knew exactly what had happened. Took him to a place. By the time they got done at the end of that conversation with the police, they ended up blaming Ash, a 7-year-old child, for seducing a grown man. At 8 years old, this person raped Ash again. And Ash shot him, killed him. This time, police couldn't blame Ash. They couldn't. Because they found bodies underneath this individual's home of children that he killed prior. Ash's father, even though he was cleared of any wrongdoing, people in small town talk. They do. It's terrible. But it ends up being that Ash's father sends him away to his sisters in New York City, and Ash runs away, winds up in the hands of a pedophile kingfish. This is where it gets interesting, because everything you see in this anime, is actually happening now. You have these wealthy individuals. They take a child like Ash. His mother abandoned him. Raped at 7. Killed the rapist at 8 years old. Emotionally traumatized. They elitist pedophiles take the child in, teach them, polish them. They experience all the refined side of life. Opera, orchestra concerts, crazy expensive wines that you and I could never imagine existing. We could never imagine something like that existing. We're talking about a pre-teen and teen given about anywhere from $100,000 bottle of wine to $1,000,000 bottle of wine. That's how much money this Papadino, pedophile kingfish, had. Jeffrey Dahmer. Not Dahmer, Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein. Giselle Maxwell. I wouldn't put cannibalism past Maxwell and Epstein. Not for a minute. Anyway, you gotta get life, right? Life is so unpredictable, it's crazy. Ash is put into child porn. He's turned to a prostitute, which Papadino uses to blackmail clients, politicians, Pentagon personnel. I'm talking about high up. This kid ends up becoming a gang leader. Throughout the series, you see him with Eiji, the Japanese young guy from Japan. He came over as his role is a photographer's assistant. He was one of those athletes that do pole vaulting thing. They run, put a pole on the ground, then jump across the bars. Yeah, that's what he did. Until he got injured and he couldn't do it anymore. Now, this kid, he and Ash are polar opposites. Now, I don't really get the boy love thing. What I personally seen was a young kid who Eiji just had this calming effect on Ash. He looked at Ash, he's seen another human being. And they end up becoming friends. And for the first time in Ash's life, he had somebody who cared about him as a human being. He didn't look at him, Ash, and see a sex toy. He didn't see a cold-blooded murderer. He seen a human being. So the first time in Ash's life, he actually has somebody that cares about him and opens up to him and gets Ash to open up. Another character is Yut Long. Now, where he fits in this whole thing is his mother was 10 when she was brought to Yut Long Ling's father, who was 65 years old. Yeah, the man was old enough to not only be this guy's mother's dad, but her grandfather, too. The epidemic of child brides is still going. This is still going. But what's so tragic is when Youth is 6, his father dies. He was. I made some errors here. Alright. He was 6 years old when his father died and forced to watch his elder brothers rape, murder, and cannibalize his mother. You talk about screwed up. And this kid grew up in the finer things of life. He had everything just handed to him. Now, character Blanca. Now, this is where you gotta remember Miss Yoshida wrote this back in the early 80s. His character Blanca, his actual name is Sergei Vershkov. He was a Soviet military assassin. He went to a university in Moscow at 18, went into the military, and then he married a young woman from Belarus the government did not approve of. Her father was killed as an enemy of the state, so of course the Soviet government would not approve of that marriage. He married her anyway. When he was sent out on a mission to Crimea, she was murdered. He defected from the Soviet Union, and of course they have put millions of dollars into this person, turning him into a killing machine. They want him back. They want him back. And everybody who found out about his past blackmailed him into doing, well, what he'd been trained to do, and that's kill. You see these things playing out. The banana fish, the LSD, was a drug. As I mentioned, back in the 1950s, CIA experimented on human beings, on American citizens, with LSD to see what the effects were. They did, check out The Minds of Men by True Stream Media. It is horrific. And what our government has sanctioned behind our backs. It's awful. And Canada was not exempt. There was a hospital that the Canadian government collaborated with CIA to allow mental patients to be experimented on. Yeah. It's pretty freaking horrific. Don't think this stuff does not still happen, because it does. It still happens. It just doesn't get brought to light. I hope you will check out Banana Fish on Amazon. There's like 23, 24 episodes. It shows what happens to these kids who are used. It's incredible. When I say incredible, well, I should say it's horrific. And how they see themselves. Alright guys, I'm going to stop here. Alright, I will see you come Monday.